Welcome back, everybody. Gearing up for our next match are the Unicorns of Love and Elements, who are tied at the top of the tables at 3-1. First, a quick look at the lineups on the blue side of the Rift. It is the UOL with Vizicachi, Joko, who's in for Diamond, Fox, Steelback, Hillesang, and their coach Sheepy. Of course, that substitution there in the jungle role. And on the red side, it is Elements within the top lane, Steve, then Gilius, Aika, Mr. Rawls, Sprattel, and Nif. The big news, obviously, here for the Unicorns of Love is that due to the visit issues, he is not eligible to play, but Millennium's Joko is stepping in. You know him from Challenger. What is he like?
Seen a couple of games. Millennium, pretty solid. Played a lot of Rek'Sai. I would expect that to be a fairly high pick. A lot of team focus from Millennium, so that's a new team now with Unicorns. How's he going to fit in? I don't know yet.
Well, we will have to see what happens to the Unicorns of Love, a team that has been phenomenal in the early game. They have the highest average gold lead at 10 minutes in the entire European LCS by 1,600. And where does that come from? About 502 comes from Diamond, 450 from Steelback, and 560 from Chachi.
Yes.
But it is Diamond that gets all those lanes snowballing.
I mean, this team has gotten first blood in every single game, and Diamond has been part of those first bloods. And especially everything Chachi is doing in the early game, in my opinion, comes from Diamond. Because those two guys together have had great synergy, good early ganks, and that is what sets up Unicorns to do well in the mid game as well. So losing Diamond is so huge for this team.
On the other hand, they do have some good things still going for them. Steelback being one of those. He had a fantastic performance. Last game versus Fnatic, they definitely have things to build up, but it will be the question if Joko can just step into this team and facilitate all these things.
Yeah, that really is the question here, because Steelback, a lot of what he's done and his success has been off the snowballing that has come from Diamond just being able to get that lane ahead.
Yeah, and I feel like Steelback has been that carry we didn't really expect to be there for Unicorns of Love. We looked at a lineup and said, who's going to be the main carry? It has been Steelback in the fights, but a lot of it again comes from what Chachi and Diamond can do in the early game.
But then I think that's kind of the story of this game as we shift focus over to Elements, who, you know, they've also had a surprise in the bottom lane of themselves from Mr. Rales and Sprattle. This is kind of the game of the 280 carries that we weren't expecting a whole lot from. I mean, at the beginning of last week, I talked about Mr. Rales. He hasn't had a whole lot of success yet. Is this his year? He was our MVP of last week. I mean, he's finally started to show up. This is the Mr. Rales maybe we saw glimpses of all the way back in 2014.
Yeah, definitely. As said, we rewarded him with the MVP role, especially because we were asking, will he be able to step up? Yes or no? It has been working for Elements. I do think the players are ready, so we're going to see how this match will play out, and we're going to hand it over to Pulse and Crepo.
Thank you, Sharks. Welcome back to the Shortcaster desk with me and Crepo. How's it going, man?
Hey, Pulse.
Hey.
I'm fantastic. I'm actually looking forward to cast because it means I'm no longer in front of a telestrator, which is great.
Yes, me too. I actually had the same experience today. Anyway, looking at Iker as well in the mid lane, he's looking a little lackluster right now against all of the other mid that we've seen.
Yeah.
Played Lux last week and didn't have the fantastic performance.
Just in general, he's just down a lot of gold, and he's not really putting too much pressure. So Elements came out as a team, you know, in a feature 2. They want to prove everybody wrong. They have proven everybody wrong. I'm just hold your horses, kids. We'll see against this Unicorns, obviously very weakened with the loss of Diamond, but this will be a good test and a proving grounds for Elements.
Yeah, that being said, Iker has come a long way. There was an article published recently looking at his progress into the LCS and has done very well for himself. Just looking to find his footing. That being said, other challenger mid laners have done so, like today with Sencooks going massive. So
yeah, he
still
went big.
time. Yes, he did. The quadra kill with that distortion was sweet. But Lissandra and Poppy will be the first two bans in from Unicorns of Love, and Tam Kench will be banned out against Chachi in the top lane with Rise as well, so 2 bans up there.
Yeah, I'm actually sad we see so many Lissandra bans because that is one matchup that I've actually enjoyed watching a lot. If you look over the LCK, one team gets Lissandra, the other one replies with Alistar, and then it becomes a mind game. Every time the call comes, like the instant Pulverize comes out, or doesn't it? And it's really fun to watch from both the support and somebody who loves really aggressive team fights.
And now we ban the Alistar as well, so
yep.
we get neither of those. But Gangplank will be the final ban out, still 100% banned out so far. He's just so good right now. Does see some nerfs on 6-2, but we're still on 6-1.
It'll get to a point where everybody forgets how to play Gangplank, but nobody actually wants to leave him open in the odd chance that the enemy team actually has practiced him. That tends to happen with these permaban champions. Good first lock in here, Kalista. Just incredibly strong. It allows your support to become a lethal engage weapon, even if he isn't already. If not, he becomes a lethal engage weapon twice. So it's just a really good pick.
Now, I want to see what they pair it with as well, because Alistar is usually a fantastic combination with Kalista, but is banned out in this game. Now looking towards the first 2 pickups from Elements. We'll see where they go in this game. Last time we saw Gillies pick up the Nidalee, the Lux in the mid lane from Iker. They did eventually win, but we saw misplays from those players.
Yeah, usually on this rotation we would see something like Graves Corki. That would be the meta. Lulu is obviously open, so you kind of have to select that too. Going for the Elise over the Graves jungle. No mistakes here in draft. It is preference.
Yeah, really that's down to what the players want to pick up. We're never going to see Swain. But yeah, he received some nerfs before really seeing competitive play, which was sad.
Yeah, he got hit by the preemptive nerf bat, which is very often the worst nerf bat out of them all. So no more Swain. Looking at elements, they may copy what Origin was doing. They can still get their hands on Lucian. They can get even a Corki mid if they go for Lulu top and then have a double AD carry in which they buff one of them. They bring the CC on the support in the jungle, and they can get a well-rounded composition that way. Yeah,
Graves is also open if they wanted it, but then they'll be going hard into the AD carries with one in mid, AD carry and jungle. So we'll see if that is the case. But swapping over to Rek'Sai would make a lot of sense. Is just one of the top tier junglers, along with Elise right now and Lee Sin. So just sitting up there in the trifecta, and that'll be locked in along with the Thresh.
Yeah, Thresh Kalista coming out from the Unicorns. They played it last week. Almost to perfection against Fnatic. Steelback went up something like 34 CS at 10 minutes against Reckless. He was basically an entire BF sword worth of gold ahead at the 10-minute mark in that game. I don't think it will be as brutal because Elements can now at least pick their matchup into it and somewhat cover their losses. If they do pick a bad matchup like Corki AD carry with a weaker support, they're in for a lot of trouble because the Unicorns did show that they know how to play that matchup well.
Mr. Rallis has been coming up big though, received the MVP and has just looked generally strong, being able to carry a team, which we weren't expecting coming into the split, but has really stepped up. Now looking towards his AD carry, Lucian, one of the top tier AD carries right now with Kalista and Corki, and it's very likely we'll see that brought in. Potential Fiora as well going into the top lane on Steve. Steve swapping towards more aggressive picks has actually done pretty well.
Yeah, but Elements are looking to lost pick their support on red side. You could maybe argue that Lulu support is a flex pick, but they almost have to put the Lulu in support if they want to get a counter pick in mid, because otherwise on purple side revealing your top laner before the enemy top laner and your mid laner before the enemy mid laner, that is a big drafting error just in general theory.
We'll see where the Lulu goes though, because as you mentioned it is a flex pick.
But it's not a good support, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, you can flex it, but why flex it into a horrible support role when it is good in mid lane, but then you just give Unicorn so much information.
Yeah, odd priority perhaps with the rest of the draft in tow. Now looking towards the last two pickups from Unicorns, these teams are really taking their time with these ones.
They do get power picks though. That's the one argument against the whole thing. If there's any picks you really want to lock in early and you're like, you know what, fine, whatever. You can see that we're picking Fiora and Lulu. Yeah, okay, that works for Elements. Unicorns will need to find an answer. They don't seem too certain with the Kennen and the Victor. I don't think those are decisive counter picks, so I think Elements got the better end of that one.
Yeah, also somewhat easy to predict when Ken's going to stun you if he goes into top lane against Fiora, which looks to be the case here. So very easy riposte if he's in range to be stunned from that. Then in the mid lane, Victor up against Unknown currently, but probably the Lulu.
Yeah, that becomes a wave clear matchup. So Victor doesn't get threatened in that matchup, and which is great for Victor, late game powerhouse. But Lulu should not suffer too much in there. The junglers can pretty much make or break that matchup, but if the Lulu plays well, I don't see her getting outplayed at all. So definitely bringing the utility for the fights. Elements not looking for excessive split push. Definitely not a 1-3-1. I think they're looking for a 4-1. Keep the Fiora in the side lane and have a bit of a team fight with the 4 remaining members. Looking at the Unicorns, I don't think they want to keep the Kennen in the side lane, so they're definitely looking for an explosive 5-on-5 team fight.
Well, looks like we may have a Janna pickup here. We're looking at that 4 gamers to G2 rather into Fnatic.
I love Janna. Sleeper pick right now. We see it a lot over in North America in this meta where it's a teamfight blow-up composition, right? They go at you and they kill you immediately, and if they don't, then they struggle. Well, Janna can force you to at least have to teamfight twice. Pretty rough to play into Victor though. 1 EQR combo and your Janna is just dead.
The disengage is very, very nice though with Tailwind, and we saw Captain Boots as well on Janna recently, so may even pick up that one. But with Lucian, it's just a good lane, allows him to get the extra damage on his double tap, and it's just very nice for the trades.
So if you want to play Janna Lucian correctly into Thresh Kalista, you need to dodge the hook aggressively forward with a Lucian dash, and then you can actually just completely outtrade the Kalista. Then it depends if she hops out of your piercing line or not, whether you win the trade. But more importantly, Janna Lucian can play safe into a lot of matchups. Relatively safe, and then she just hard counters Kennen in the teamfights. Just 1 flash ulti, 1 Howling Gale, which you now let stack up more. You don't really go for the tap tornadoes anymore because they're so short and they don't really knock up very much. But you really want the long 4-second channel tornadoes coming out, and we've seen a lot what they can do in certain team fights in North America.
I really wonder how the Kennen is going to do in this matchup, because with the Janna as the last pick, you just get rid of the Kennen. You can preemptively stun him with Cocoon. It's so difficult to get in there and even pop Zhonya's before you just get blown away before the start of the fight. But we have the full compositions here to see how this one works up. Remember, that is Joko in the jungle, coming in from Millennium as well in the jungle for Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, Elements will, bot lane will have to be careful though. If they go 2v2, they're at risk of dying. And as opposed to the other side, you never die to a Janna Lucian lane. Like, it's almost impossible to die 2v2. Maybe, yeah, you have to drop some CS to obvious zone, but it's such a telegraphed lane that the burden of the outplay is definitely on Rallis and Sprattle, because they can get wrecked in a 2v2.
All right, let's get into this game. Unicorns of Love up against Elements here. Elements, Elements have a lot to prove, but Unicorns definitely have the love of the crowd here in the studio.
And Steve.
And
this
Steve,
massive sign somewhere.
That's true. There's a lot going both ways. The Unicorns as a team with the name, of course, and then Steve.
Yeah, in the opening show, we were looking outside and it had like a massive Steve sign somewhere, so...
I'm waiting for the day we get a top laner called Alan, and then it will be the circle will be complete.
Yep. If you don't know that reference, too bad.
Yeah, Google it right now.
Alan.
Steve.
Alan. No.
Well, that's what Fox is trying to do in the mid lane, but Lulu's having none of it. Ika's just going to back off here. Ika are on a pretty passive mid lane. We've seen them play more aggressive mids in the past, but going for the Lulu, which is probably going to be a fun matchup in the mid lane, honestly, unless we see ganks come in. They don't really get in range to even CC each other up to set up a gank. That's the problem. Yeah,
Elements swapping away from the bot lane. I think we'll see Janna Lucian go in for the stop on the camp. I hope so. That would be the really nice play here, actually. Shuts down the double jungle, forces them to leave the jungle and only take one camp on their way out. Callista Thresh setting up for a camp. Yeah, I like this. I like this from Elements. This is smart. They avoid the 2v2, and worst case, if Elements had or Unicorns predicted a swap, they would at least cancel the camp on Steelback and Hylissang and at least make it an even level 1 lane where Janna is stronger, because Janna doesn't spike at all on level 2. She gets like, what, a tornado? Okay, have fun with that. You know, if you, as opposed to Thresh, who gets EQ, if you end up a camp down or even camps, and he steals the little wolf. The crowd goes nuts. Yeah, definitely good move by Elements. I like it.
Yeah, stealing away the wolf is actually pretty big because it really screws with the experience you get from the following camps and stops you from hitting the levels you want to. So now Chachi and Joko just going to pick up this camp as well. Sprattle got what he came for. Now he goes into the top lane and uncontested. This is just a standard lane swap really here. And we'll see the AD carry stack up those waves and the jungle will continue.
Yeah, meanwhile though, Hylissang did invade the enemy jungle too, so 2 camps left alive. On the other side too. Usually when you see a team perform this little exchange, the double jungle ends up getting more on the other side of the map, so could have gotten Gromp and Wolves for example, but they got shoot off after the Wolf. So a little bit of a mistake there from Elements. I think they could have gotten a little more greedy, but in this accelerated 3-man push meta, it doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah, and when you're saying they could have been more greedy, that's nitpicking.
Yeah,
when you get to that point.
It helps when you have a Fog of War at the table.
Yes, it does. Go here right now. But Gilius and Steve now heading towards this red buff, or this blue buff, sorry. I'd like to claim I'm colorblind, but I'm not. And now they'll go into this bottom tower. Chachi will come down as well.
They also look different.
Yes, very different. And are on different positions in the map, but
hey, colorblind.
Yeah.
Alright, 3-man push, junglers do whatever, pick up Scuttlecraft's remaining camps. This is completely standard. We have to see what phase 2 looks like. The only adaptation that we've seen has been Giants today, who swapped out their AD carry to lane 1v1 against the top laner, something we've seen the Rocks Tigers do in the series against KT. I haven't watched the one against SKT just yet. That's still on my to-do list, so maybe they do it there too. Who knows? But other than that, most teams just follow the standard lane swap pattern.
Strength for the ages over to Joko, so implies he'll probably be going Cinderhulk as well and try and just get tanky as a front line, which makes sense here. Pretty standard. Wind Speakers as well from Sprattle.
Yeah. Gotta go Wind Speakers here because in those late game team fights, when you do knock away the cannon and you heal like 3 people and you shield another one, the amount of MR that you're giving to your team is just massive, just especially against a team fight comp. That's so much gold worth of stats that you get for free.
Yep, so nice with the Monsoon. And yeah, Rallis opting towards the fervor of battle versus the extra burst you get from Thunderlord's Decree. So it's really just preference on the Lucian, because Lucian can go for either and does fine with both. But now that they're actually going for a lane swap, they're not really going to be feeling the power of Thunderlord, so fervor is almost certainly the better choice to get the damage in the mid game and the late game. Mid lane, however, it's Fox, Ika, as we mentioned before. It's kind of farming away. There's a slight CS advantage to Fox, even though the minion wave is the same, so he's got that going for him, but
Yeah, at this point, we are nitpicking. We're looking at very small, subtle advantages, like how Steve got 2 extra creeps because he pushed back the potential freeze a little bit more and then swaps back, but these are complete mirrors right now. So we need to look around a minute from now. That's when these teams can start getting creative and the super textbook lane swap pattern gets switched off.
And Unicorns of Love will head over to the Rift Herald while the push goes on in the bottom lane. So most likely this will go over to Joko, maybe even give it to a solo laner as well. Generally seeing these very early early heralds go to the AD carries.
This is actually the phase where you can go for a 4-man group double tower push in the top lane. We've seen that. When teams go at the other side of the map, they go for 1 tower and dragon, and they get surprised by the Rift Herald buff. So let's see what Elements does here, if they put any prioritization on that dragon, or if they recognize the looming threat of losing their tier 2 tower.
In this situation, it didn't really matter, but Hillside just passed over the Eve's Doom, or Doom's Eve. It's one of those. And then, got that one. But it doesn't matter because the grouping was formed.
Sharing is caring.
Anyway, it is. Hillside wants the extra damage and move speed. Actually gets some range for a hook, so probably actually not too bad, but gonna take up this top turret. We'll be going down. Most likely the gold will go over to Chachi, and can deny some of those minions as well. Steve gonna do the same thing in the bottom lane, and we'll take that one down. So really, if you look across the board, very similar in terms of what both teams have gained. Oh, gonna survive another wave.
Oh, he messed up that?
Yeah,
that's pretty big because now the way that he was supposed to bounce, he has to push in right now. So that's a very big mistake here from Vizichachi, who's in tempo, as opposed to Steve, who's all the way in the bot lane. He's farming his merry way around. Slightly frozen wave for him too. So Steve did it perfect. Vizichachi messed up.
And now Rallis is here, so he actually can't take the tower. That is even worse.
Yeah, that's a very big ripple effect. It puts him down 800 gold. The wave's pushing back. Momentum on the side of Elements. Obviously, since their dual lane is top right now, they will need at least 3 or 4 members to push them in. So, meanwhile, Steve is comfortably farming the bottom. You see a gank here. Finally, though, AK has to flash out.
Yeah, he flashes just to the tower at the very end of that gank. Last time we saw him being very greedy on Lux and hold the flash and then flash and still die anyway. So this time, again, being a bit more greedy, but he's on Lulu, so he can speed himself up with Whimsy. Not too bad. Hillside and it's 1-on-1. It's intense 1v1 versus Steve. Yeah, he sent him packing.
He sends it back in. Thunderlord blocks right in the face. AK has to farm here. Let's see what the Elements can do with these 3 members in the top side. They're taking control of the jungle. We have a sidestone finish on Sprattle, so he's going for deep vision. So Elements are looking to siege because Vizichachi on level 4 can't really do anything against the Mr. Rawls, especially once he gets shielded up here. So Elements grouping. We'll have to be careful though. They can send in Steve with a teleport on the minion and really go for the siege. How much guts do they have? They really want to go for that play.
Not that many, apparently. Adamant are out of there.
Yep.
And
one entire guts.
Just one. One singular guts. But if only he was Graves, he could have just pushed out the wave. Graves was even open in this draft and not even picked up. And Gideus opted towards the Elise as his preferable jungler.
Now, the tower did not go down for Unicorns, but the gold difference is only 400. That does indicate that they have CS advantage somewhere. So slight one on the jungler.
Everywhere.
None. That was a flash. Yep, Julius flash cocoon. Missed. Again, we are nitpicking this game because not much is going on overall. 0 kills, a double lane swap, mirrored swap. So small mistake from small mistake from Unicorns. Whereas Elements was invading the deep blue jungle on one side. Guess what? Unicorns are doing the same thing on the other side because Steelback was pushing it on the bot lane. Very, very standard play. Somebody has to make a mistake eventually and get caught, though. That is what we were aiming for.
In situations like this, seeing a weird flash like that does make sense because Gileas just wants something to happen, open up an advantage, open up something different in this complete mirror. So something will happen and they can actually make a tempo play.
Yeah, it goes both ways. Either you break the mold by finding a creative opening, or you get like slightly, I'm not going to say tilted, but you get a little annoyed by nothing going on and you feel like you're behind, especially if you're new to the stage. Playing a bang on even game isn't bad, unless you have very big scaling differences, but Elements can be fine playing this scaling game. Hang on, Sprattle now.
Sprattle, quite dead. We'll put up the tornado, but first blood over the Steelback.
And that's the difference right now. The Unicorns have control of the deep blue jungle. Elements had that on the other side, but Elements tried to fight back with a Janna face checking, and you just can't afford to do that. You really need to count the dots on the map. If you see less than 4 dots, you're probably walking into the remaining 2 and die.
And right there, all those dots were there to gank her. So went down there. Has gone back to base, picked up the Sightstone, pretty standard, and the Frost Queen's Claim as well. So that first kill going on to Unicorns, now want to see what they do with it. They do anything else, or they can break this map open. But after going back, Probably not.
There's not much room for unicorns right now. So it's small advantages that you want to take that lead up to a bigger snowball eventually, but no one kill is just really gonna get you all those towers right now. Maybe a kill on the top lane gets you to tier 1, but it is a slow paced game right now, and we have to keep our eyes on the junglers or jungle support duos. This is where synergy between your jungler and your top laner, for example, or your jungler and support really comes to shine.
Gilius just cannot get the gank off in the top laner against Kennen. The movement speed from E is just a little too much. Now, the Scuttlecrab taken away. Most of Unicorns in the top side looking to make something happen. Aggressive wards going down, I believe. Push Gilius out of that jungle.
Yeah, Steve is waiting for that wave to get the experience. His team is coming in, or the Unicorns are coming in to deny that experience. Massive wave in the top lane. You really want to use that, you know, wave building into sieges right now, because you're not going to pick anybody off. Most vision is respected here, so some damage finally on that top tier 2 for the Unicorns.
Yeah, if they had a little more time, they might have been able to go for that Herald as well and then had the extra attack speed on those minions and maybe gotten the siege off, but still, there's enough wave clear there between Rales and Gilius to make nothing happen.
It does please me to see the way the Unicorns are playing vision-wise. Joko and Hylissang are working together in a similar fashion that Diamond and Hylissang were doing in the first 2 weeks, and that's something we were lacking from the Unicorns last season as a whole. So as a team, their macro has improved. Look at those little 2 wards you have behind the red buff and next to the Raptor camp. That is what the Unicorns are doing well. Elements mirror it, but they don't really... Unicorns don't care because they're actually conceding the weak part of the map. They say Kalista on steelback on Kalista rather. He can farm on his own. We don't really care about losing the vision in our jungle. Whereas Unicorns, they're actively pushing pressure in the vision contested part of the map, so they're playing more proactive.
And now that the tower has gone down, Unicorns are ahead in this game quite significantly. In fact, 1,400 gold is quite a lot on their side. Plus, they take the Herald as well and go back to base. Just general CS advantage in mid, bottom, and jungle. Actually, a lot on Joko. I believe he's in lanes taking minions as well, so that kind of reflects it, but still, advantage nonetheless.
Yeah, which is more efficient pathing overall, and the fact that Sprattle seems very insistent on holding Mr. Rawls' hand, whereas Steelback is a strong independent AD carry that need no support. So Sprattle, that's the bad side if you play Janna in a lane swap where you're under-leveled. You want to get to level 6 or you just die on every face check. So you just kind of hover near your AD carry, doing absolutely nothing. Zero contribution until you get that level 6 and you can start joining fights. Whereas Hylissang, he's moving his merry way around the jungle, warding, setting up potential hooks, so much more pressure coming out of Hilly compared to Sprattle.
Oh, Chachi, he lands the Shuriken, and that's quite a lot of damage on Taraz, but he has lifesteal, so he'll probably get a bit of that back. Mid lane, though, is being sieged in by Joko and Fox. Should be able to take this down, or not, as Steve, Gilius, and Sprattle come in. Get the cocoon onto Joko, but he's fairly tanky. He's picked up the Cinderhawk already, and he has the extra movement speed from the Swiftness boots. Yeah,
Elements with a very, very good teamfight composition 4v4 if the fight's coming to them, but they have a hard time engaging it themselves. Cocoon is the only thing they have. They have a speed up from Lulu, but slowly but surely that Victor matchup that we saw getting picked into Lulu, even though it was red side, gets pushed in right now. He keeps pressuring the tower. Both towers are down. If that third tower opens up and Hylissang and Joko continue the deep vision style, then Elements could be in for a whole world of trouble.
Very possible. Steelback is still being left on his own. Actually, he's now joining his team. Would you do that in solo queue, Crapper? Would you leave your AD carry alone?
Yeah, of course. And then I kill mid, and then he dies alone. And I'm to blame. Joko right here trading with Julius. Cocoon is down though. The group in the mid lane is here. We'll likely see a culling for the wave clear because Eka can't clear that alone.
And the flash and the hook goes wide.
How many points is that?
Give me 10.
Do you watch football?
Of course I don't.
Okay.
I come from Liverpool as well, man. It's
yeah, you're a small Asian Liverpooler.
Liverpudlian, I think you'll find.
Probably not going to have the greatest knowledge of American football. If only the official was here, he would know.
Yeah, and lucky he is not. He's gone, he's been benched, and now the blue buff will be taken up. Joko going straight into the enemy jungle, just has a tunnel set up so he can jump in there.
Yeah, Unicorns have had control of both deep jungles really the entire game right now, and that's why these lanes have fallen, because nobody on Elements can actually safely push out beyond the river point. Aka's also in the losing push matchup in mid. There's no jungle interaction because Gilius can't find any openings. If the Cocoon hits at all, there's no follow-up. Sprattle is still watching Mr. Rawls farm. He's taking the scenic approach to League of Legends. So, very, very lackluster passive Elements overall.
We have train spotters, now we have CS spotters. A new sport from Sprattle, brought to you at home.
With the Moby Boots, which I I despise on Janna. On a champion with a lot of built-in mobility that actually gets rewarded for moving quick in fights in a meta where swiftness boots are also cheap. He actually went Mobies.
Gilius gets blown up by Fox, but not quite finishing him off here. Has already used the flash to try and get in range. Jukes towards his team and gets shielded from Sprattle, so he'll stay alive. But now Sprattle and Rallis are caught out. That's a lot of damage coming in from Fox, but has been cocooned. Will cleanse that one out, and the hug lands from Hittersang. Steal back with the damage, and the Rend picks up the kill.
Yeah, it all comes crumbling down here for Elements. We see Gilius wandering in the jungle that has been under complete control from Unicorns alone. No support. He gets chunked out. Then everybody's like, okay, you're fine. You walk back to base. Oh, this Victor is still here. Sprattle thinks to himself, why is this guy level 10? I'm not even like level 6. He gets poked out. Mr. Ballas tries to help. He gets hooked. So really, really just snowballing down the hill. And Elements, they seem very, very flustered.
Yeah, very flustered. And the fact that Sprattle was level 5, I mean, Hittersang's just hit level 6, but he had that before then and was actually getting enough experience so he could hit that spike. Having Monsoon in a game like this where it's very possible someone's going to get picked is quite important as a disengage tool.
Just walk together. There's no goal here. It seems very, very dynamic QE.
Yeah.
What Elements is doing here is like, oh, the vision in the jungle is gone. It's dark. Let's walk in and find out who's there. Well, it turns out there's a level 10 Victor. May have to flash out. So as opposed to Unicorns, I don't think we're giving them enough credit. They're playing a really, really solid style of League of Legends here. Really good pushes on the side lane, moving in for vision in between. Playing aggressively, but with enough caution that they don't get turned on. Really using their vision well. They haven't been in their own jungle for longer than maybe a minute in the last 5 minutes.
And the macro game continues from Unicorns of Love, something we've really just been impressed from compared to the old style, which was just make some flashy outplays and get ahead and maybe win the game.
Yeah, 5 towers to 2. 6,000 goldie right now, 3 kills to 0. That is complete opposite. Usually we would see the Unicorns losing towers, but winning kills ever so slightly because they play a super chaotic style. Yeah, really, really nice to see the improvement and something I honestly wasn't expecting to be predicted here, because Unicorns as an organization didn't seem to offer much growth to their players. But it does seem with the roster changes, we've seen an entirely new gameplay.
One of our questions as well is how is Joko going to fit into the team with Diamondprox moving out, because he had so many influences in those First Bloods. So far, actually not too bad. Has been fitting with the team pretty well in their movements. Has been involved in the kill as well. Was there with his team to set those up. Has also been in the enemy jungle, keeping up the vision.
Yeah, Unicorn's going a little heavy on the blue trinkets though. A developing style we've seen is a lot more yellow trinkets. Once you do get that lead, because obviously they don't just get revealed. You need True Sight to reveal them with either Vision Wars or the Sweepers. And they're not really at risk of getting picked off. I mean, if you face check into Elements, only the Cocoon is really going to punish you. Or a Whimsy. That's about it. So I think Unicorns could do well by switching to yellow trinkets, keeping the same playstyle, and eventually either open up the tier 2 tower in the top lane or go for an early Baron. They may actually have just done that already. I lied. It's not Baron dead. It's
nope. It's 17 minutes 40.
I'm just so confused. Why are there 5 towers down at 17 minutes? Why are these guys like 6,000 gold down? And then I look on the minimap and I see the Baron pit. I'm like, oh, they're sneaking a 2-man Baron.
Yeah.
Nope. That's a
today. Yeah, this is a worrying correlation, or the start of one that could be for Elements, because they have many strong opponents ahead, and Unicorns is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, definitely. So Elements 3-1 right now in the split, but they've faced some rather poor opponents, and they need to face the more stronger teams coming up. And Unicorns probably one of the... Hang on, Joko.
He's out. Oh, Ica might be out as well. He's got his ultimate and flash and ignite and burns none of it though.
And that's the problem. If you fall behind with a team comp like Elements have, the Unicorns don't actually have to kill you. They can just use their offensive tools to chunk you out and just disincentivize you from even fighting. And Elements, because they lack the hard engage, they can't even answer that. They're like, okay, I survived, but I have to walk back to base. But what do? We wait for Cocoon. So they have a really good 4-1 if Elements stays even, plays the macro well, or get ahead. But if Elements are this far behind, it's incredibly hard to come back.
I think that's something people forget as well. Sending someone back to base is still time that they've gained.
Yeah.
People go deep for kills and chase too far when they can just shove them out and take the tower.
Yeah, the essential logic you want to follow is if you kill somebody, he's out of the frame or out of the equation for maybe like 30 seconds, but you can chunk them and acquire the same and play a macro style. H2K does that fantastically, especially early in their game against Fnatic. And that's actually one of the reasons why Janna as a pick kind of disappeared in more of these active metas, because she didn't offer engage, only disengage. If you look at teams Like Immortals, though, over in the North American LCS, they use it beautifully. They say, okay, we have a passive support that can only reset the fights, but we'll pick hard engage only on the other champions, like Lissandra going in, super high damage on Graves, you know, pure raw power. But Elements, they're overloading utility, and they're paying the price.
Indeed. So in that jungle, Gilius has got a scoreline of 0-0-0, so has not impacted those lanes at all. Has tried to make that one play that we saw earlier at Red Buff, but apart from that, oh, there's another play. Smite that one away. Hylissang will give that one a good old laugh, and he'll back away. And now just securing vision around the Baron pit as well, and that will be spawning in 1 second. But teams, very hard to find it if they haven't killed anyone on the map, and the opposing team can contest it.
Yeah.
And heading into the middle lane now, just to try and secure that vision. Elements are aware of this and just have the positioning, whereas we have a steal back off on the side lane. Hook lands onto Sprattle. All he wanted was the pink ward. The box comes up. Does he have a way out? The answer is no. Hylissang picks that one up.
And again, this is what we saw in the early game. Sprattle fighting to reclaim vision control on his own, without support, under level, and it's just rinse and repeat over and over. And we see more action here from the Unicorns.
Steal back, throws in Hylissang, and he's ready with more damage. Fox comes in, Grand Challenge activates, but Steve jumps in, and he immediately wants out. Mistakes were made. He'll flash away. There's the ultimate from Chachi, and Ica will take the chunk as well. Already uses ultimate on Steve just to keep him living. And now Unicorns will back off to the Baron.
Yeah, and the repeat play here from Unicorns, if the gold lead was a little smaller, would have been push the lanes, ward in between in the jungle, push them again, go for Baron. They can skip 2 of the steps. It's walk in, somebody will get caught, and just instantly go for the Baron here. We saw Hylissang waste his flash for a hook. We saw Vizichachi use his ulti, let's call it zoning ultimate, but it didn't even matter because Elements was playing so far back, had to run with the tail in between their legs, and they're going to just watch Unicorns take a Baron buff here.
And that's Baron, over to Unicorns of Love. We'll see how much they can do with it because all of those inner turrets are down. Actually going to see that pick one more time as he was just wanting this forward.
Yeah, and just to illustrate of how bad this game is, a beautiful combo here by the way. Like, perfect execution, Jocko clicked the lantern at the exact right time. You can't believe how hard it is for some players. Hylissang tries to fish, they find Gilius, he gets fried like one of those bugs that fly into a zapper. I know spiders are not technically bugs, the correlation is still there. And Steve here, he went from 49 damage done to 300 in this fight. So in this entire game, Steve has done 300 damage to champions. That just illustrates how hard Elements is struggling and how little they're getting done.
I also would have liked Sprattle to, instead of stand still and hit that ward, actually hit and back off like most people do, so you actually have the ability to jump away. However, he was locked into attack phase, and it was in the bush.
It's the reverse mind game, you know?
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
yes.
really good hook for him. Hylissang here fakes it onto Steve, ends up going for Sprattle, execute is close, steal back drops, still gets Cocoon and dies.
Yeah, and the Monsoon was enough to keep Sprattle alive. Joko off to the side. They don't take down Gilius, and he'll just kind of scuttle away into Ica. Ica does not have his ultimate, though. This is starting to go extremely well for Elements, at least in this trade. Chachi got the ultimate still, and the binding lands onto Joko. Steve jumps in, but there's Chachi going to the back lines, and he is just destroying everybody, along with Fox. Double kill comes in, triple kill comes in for Fox.
It seemed like a good start to the fight. Mr. Wallace picks up 2 more kills. Elements 5v3 here at the end of that fight, but then suddenly they forgot about the Chaos Storm from Victor. They fight Ken and Victor in a funnel, and Vizichachi had flash available, so he just flash ultis in, and suddenly Elements find themselves aced, and they lose all hope to even come close to winning this game.
Yeah, Joko taking the bottom lane as well. 0-0-7, the license not to kill in this game. Fox and Chachi will take this inhib. Bot inhib is going to continue living for now, but that's something open that Unicorns can just group up and go for a fight. And speaking of fights, we're going to see that last one again from the very start with Steve getting caught.
Look at this hook here. He's going to fake it on Steve and switch it to Sprattle, because that's what you usually want to do on Thresh. You act as if you're going for one target and then go for the next one. Cocoon from over the wall, catch a steal back. Now Rallis is going to clean up Hylissang, but keep your eyes on the left part of the fight. Chaos Storm was actually used already on Gilius, so it was really just Kennen and Victor that will win this fight. Elements could have disengaged, but they felt that they had to make the move, and Vizichachi right here coming in with the flash eventually is going to clean up that fight.
Oh, that stack. The damage in from Chachi, and because he managed to get in range of his ultimate with so many people, meant he could instantly activate the W and just dealt a ridiculous amount of damage. He was just cleaning up from there with Fox.
Yeah, Kennen did get changed a very long time ago, where it didn't matter if you had stacks applied to people already when you press W. The only condition for dealing damage with W is really that you're just within range of them, and he got a quadruple ulti stack with quadruple W damage, and that meant Elements just get aced.
Simple as that. Now the push in the mid lane is coming in, and the bot lane inhibitor is open. That's being pressured, and Unicorns of Love don't even group 5 to go for that objective. They still have to push in the top lane from Chachi and steal back.
Yeah, they're playing so clean, especially that is the answer to a utility teamfight comp, is you just split them up. Yeah, Lulu adds a lot of value to Lucian and Fiora. Fiora gets to carry these fights because of Janna and Lulu, but if you split them up and they're already behind, you just isolate them and expose their weaknesses, and you just push them in over and over.
Steve trying to clear out these tunnels, but this is dangerous with Chachi there, looking for the stun. He'll manage to go through the base gate back to safety with his team. Joko just gone ahead and pushing out this mid lane. Now the bot lane's being pushed in. This could be close to Element's curtain call very soon here.
Yeah, I just love the improvement from Unicorns, that their bot lane is now a decent 2v2 threat, as we saw against their match, or in their match rather, against Fnatic. You see Steve dodge the hook here. See if you need to finish that point later. So their bot lane's a 2v2 threat, but Steelback can also play on his own, which enables Hylissang to roam. Last year it was kind of spring split. Vardax and Hylissang would beat people 2v2 with the Morgana Jinx. Summer split, they got outlaned every single time to the point where Hylissang was going for frantic roams. Now they have both playstyles in their bag of tricks, and that allows them to be versatile.
Yeah, surprising upgrade there. Now Joko just zoning away, taking this one down. Steve has been hooked in, he'll have to lunge away. The rest of Elements are just letting this happen, and Unicorns of Love are just beating them up and taking the lunch money. There's nothing that Elements can really do though, and Ralez trying to put down the damage, but he just doesn't have enough. He can't even get through the shield that Joko has on top of him, and there goes the inhibitor.
Yeah, Ralez watched Origin, and he's thinking to himself, why isn't this working? I have a Lulu, I'm Lucian, I should be able to 1v5 here, but sadly this game turned out a little different, and Unicorns setting up for the final blow.
All of these minions flooding in, and they're just waiting. Joko comes in from base, back to full health. He's even tankier now, and Steve, maybe he can get a lunge off here, but that's all he's really going to accomplish in this fight. Gilius jumps in. They have to go for this one, but they jump in and instantly get deleted. Iker is out of the fight, and Steve jumps in, and he also dies. There's just nothing that Element can do, and they are being run down into their fountain. Mr. Ralez stays alive, protecting his KDA, but there's not much to protect, and they're not going to protect the Nexus. Unicorns of Love come up big and take the win against Elements.
Yeah, Elements, 2 kills, 2 towers. A myriad of face checks against the very organized Unicorns. We asked the question, what will they do without Diamond Prox present? Well, Joko, he filled that gap beautifully. To my knowledge, his first LCS match here on stage, obviously challenger player from Millennium, I believe. Played fantastic there too, so no lacking of professional experience, but to do it all on a stage in a team and fit in this well, props to Unicorns.
Just played the map extremely well. That is what we call a textbook win from Unicorns of Love. And Elements just could not find a way into that game. They made the plays. They made to try and make plays with Gilius flashing with the Cocoon, but it just didn't come up.
Yeah, and this is including a failed phase 2 of the lane swap where Vizichachi did not get that tier 1 tower in the top lane immediately and actually failed the bounce. So even given that, allowing Elements to get a 1.4k lead or something due to that, they just fell back perfectly. They played a deep vision game, patiently waiting for somebody to explode, and yeah, it worked out. Beautiful game from Unicorns.
The day has arrived where Unicorns are outplaying people on a macro level and doing it incredibly strong. This has been a trend that we've been seeing over the last couple of weeks, and it is not stopping. Elements now, and we mentioned this in the game, but they have a tough schedule ahead of them. Unicorns was just kind of the first one of that, and not doing well against Unicorns, it's worrying.
Yeah, it's worrying, but we don't know how good these Unicorns are because they're sitting at the top or near the top of the table right now, so a lot of question marks still. We don't know how good the H2K is without Ryu, but Elements did obviously play some of the weaker opponents.
Yeah. And
we're not really seeing any growth here. I want to see Sprattle again on stuff that can make plays. Disengage is fine on Janna, but you need to fill your composition with hard engage somewhere else. If the closest you come to hard engage is the Cocoon, you will see Gilius having to play like a madman. He was flash cocooning left and right, trying to fish for a desperate play, and that is due to the nature of their composition. So it all goes back to the draft.
Yeah, the top of the table is definitely shifting around, and we'll see how Elements perform in future weeks, but we are going to toss to Pyra, who is on stage, to take a look at that defiant Unicorns of Love win.
Thanks again, Pulse. I am joined by the man on the top lane, is Vizichachi. Congratulations on a very clean victory. And I want to ask you guys a little bit about how you had to work through your issues this week. You had to work on a new sub player, and how does that change your game plan going into a game like today?
I didn't change much. We already had a clear game plan prepared by Tuesday. And the arrival of Joko didn't change too much because he basically had the same champion pool as Diamond, but he prioritizes some others. We just adapted to it and picked him for the Rek'Sai, and I think it worked out good.
It certainly did. So glad it was able to slot in so easily. Now, also, I want to ask you a little bit about your choice of champion, the Kennen pickup. That's something that I think I would have expected last year's Shachi to play a lot more. Why did you like it here in this composition?
I always liked it into Fiora because the lane matchup is really good for Kennen, and you can destroy the Fiora in 1v1. It was a lane swap situation this time, and I felt like their whole team composition was really squishy for me to go in, and they didn't have any protection. They last picked the Janna. It was really good pick from them, but when the Janna didn't have ult, I could slaughter their team anyway. So there is like some ways to work around the Janna ult as well.
And you certainly found the ways to work around them. So congratulations on that pickup, that successful pickup. Last question I have for you, though, is everyone talked about the Chaos style last year being the Unicorn's signature. You guys have turned into this incredibly crisp, incredibly well shot-called team. How did that happen, in your opinion?
We train a lot harder than before. We go over every replay and analyze what the best rotation would be, and we work on it as a unit. So everyone has to be on the same page, and eventually we all have the same game understanding, and then we think the same. So we go for the same rotations as well. And that's how we do it in game. Everyone knows where his place is, and we just go there instantly.
One team, one unit, and another win on the board. Congratulations, Chachi. Now, we're going to have to step away from the Rift. But before we go, before our next game with H2K and Vitality, you guys want to stick tuned because you're going to hear from Oda Wamne on what he thinks about his favorite ninja.
I think Shen top is really good in the current meta. It's just he's super safe and his damage output is really high for a tank, and he has double globals pretty much, because when you can have a global spell like his ultimate on like 3 minutes cooldown and a TP on 4 minutes cooldown, and you can just spam it every 4 minutes, you have double globals. He's just really strong because you can be anywhere on the map, and his 1v1s are strong. His teamfight utility is strong, and he's just one of the most solid picks for top lane right now.